Aloha. This regular meeting of the Kailua Neighborhood Board is called to order at 7:01. Assisting us tonight as our neighborhood assistant is Anson Wu, who's covering for Spencer Johnson. In the audience this evening, we have Ken Agaloli, the new principal of Kalaheo High School, and we've been promoting Kalaheo High School as on a priority basis as a nomination for a hurricane shelter. Kailua used to have 8 designated hurricane shelters. Currently, there are 0, and we appreciate the partnership with Kalaheo High School. The first order of business on any hybrid meeting is a roll call. Josiah Akau. All right, present. Travis Council. Present. Jeff Klein. Present. Kellyanne Kobayashi. Not yet. David Laea. Present. Jade Lau. Present. Levani Lipton. Present. Keala Morel. Present remotely. Kate Ryder. Present. Claudine Tomasa. Steve Trecker. Present. Evan Weber. Present. Present. Gary Weller. Present. John White. Donna Wong. Present. Jeff Zuckernick. And I am present. We have a quorum. 12 in person and 1 remotely. Announcements. Neighborhood board elections for 2025 to 2027 will take place in April and May of this year. Candidates must register not later than February 21st. Additional information is available at the NCO website. And I certainly encourage those who are interested in serving our community and continuing to serve our community to register for becoming a candidate in the upcoming election. Are there any other announcements tonight? All right, next order of business are board vacancies. This is for the term ending June 30th. We actually have 2 vacancies in Subdistrict 4, which is Coconut Grove, Akahi, and Kailua Town. Board members may nominate candidates to fill the vacancies. Proof of subdistrict residency is required. Candidates may speak for 3 minutes prior to board voting. Are there any nominations for the 2 vacancies in Subdistrict 4? Jade Lau.
Jay Etchenbach. Formal name John.
Actually, could I ask you to spell the last name?
Sure. Etgenbach.
Jay Etzenbach. Okay, nominated by Jade Lau. Is there a seconded by Levani Lipton? Are there other nominations for board vacancies? Donna Wong.
Bartley.
Larry Bartley. Is there a second? Gary Weller. All right. Are there other nominations for the 2 openings? Kate Ryder. Jennifer Bara. Is there a second? Steve Trecker. Are there other nominations for the two openings? Okay, well, this is an embarrassment of riches for Kailua Community and Kailua Neighborhood Board. We have two openings and we have three candidates. Anson, that doesn't happen in a lot of neighborhood boards. Okay, so we're going to have to make a decision. Each of the three are going to have to register their address with Anson to confirm that they're within Subdistrict 4. And then we will ask each nominee to speak for 3 minutes about the reasons for an interest in joining the Kailua Neighborhood Board. And then we will vote. And when we vote, each board member will vote for 2 nominees. And at the end of that, if someone has 10 votes, then 1 seat is filled. If 2 people have 10 votes, then 2 seats are filled. And if nobody has 10, we'll continue on. All right. Why don't we do this in the order in which nominated? Jay Etzenbach. If you could introduce yourself to the board. Yes, a microphone, please. 3 minutes of your background and your interest in joining the board.
Hello, everyone. I seem to have picked up a cold, so I'm going to keep this on so I can keep it to myself. Can you all hear me okay? Okay.
Yes.
So I'm a periodontist by trade. I was in both private practice as well as the military. When I retired, I went back to KCC and got 2 culinary degrees. Mostly did it for fun, but I also help out different organizations with that and help out friends that have different odds and ends going on. Big question probably is, why am I interested in the board? Well, I've always been of the view that there's a lot of people before me came and gave of their time to make our community, our schools, our whatever, better places. And now it's my turn to do the same thing. In the past, I've been on a couple of different boards of education. I've worked as a director for the United Way. I'm currently a member of the board of directors of the Association of Army Dentistry. I just like to give back and get involved in different things. I've lived in Kailua for 25 years. I think this is a great town. I've seen it change like we all have. One of the reasons why I'm still here is because I like the character of the town. And I would like to try to preserve that while at the same time realizing that progress does come along and we have to work towards keeping if we want to keep that character of our town, we need to be responsible for figuring out just how we can do that and move forward while maintaining that characteristic. I'm more than happy to answer any questions if anybody has any.
Okay, I think what we'll do is we'll hold questions after all 3 have introduced themselves. And in the meantime, if you haven't already, if you could show your driver's ID to verify a residency requirement. Next person nominated was Larry Bartley, a former board member.
Hey, good evening, board members and Chair Bill. I served for about 20 years on the Kailua Neighborhood Board from 1989 to 2015. I took a small hiatus during that period. I served consistently on Donna Wong's zoning committee. I'm very familiar with zoning laws and how they're enforced, and how they work and so forth. So I was very active on Donna's committee. Under that committee and early 2000s, we undertook to figure out and fight the vacation rental introduction to our neighborhood. I founded a group called Save Oahu's Neighborhoods, which was instrumental with a lot of help from a lot of other people in bringing that issue out of Kailua to the entire island of Oahu. And because of that and a lot of effort by many, many people, we were able to get the legislation that's currently in place. And last week, I sat through a dog and pony show by the DPP explaining why they still can't enforce the law. So I want to bring that back to the neighborhood board and see what can be done, you know, through the board system. Also, my lawn has been destroyed by feral chickens. And now we have bird flu. No eggs in the supermarket. And I want to find out why the city allows these feral chickens to exist on their property that invade our private property, and the city is not doing anything about it. And you can hire, you know, what do you call it? Those people who chase down feral animals for $100 a bird. Of course, nobody's doing that, and they're very helpful. I hired them for one time, but they're very helpful. But I think the city needs to take care of why these birds are feeding and living on city property and then invading private property, and especially with the bird flu scare that's coming up now. They are a transmission vector to other species, including, you know, Hawaiian birds. The other thing is, I don't know, I've just been anxious to get back on the board for a few years now. I served as chair in 1993. I know the rules. I know how the board works. And I've always worked hard to make sure the public gets a voice and time to speak so that the meetings are run in an orderly fashion and no bullies take over the meetings and talk forever. So that's all I have. Any questions, anybody?
Okay, we're going to hold off on questions until all three nominees have introduced themselves.
You know, Bill, the sound system's like it was 10 years ago. I don't understand a word you said.
We're going to hold off.
Okay, thank you.
Jennifer Barra.
Hi, my name is Jennifer Barra. I was born and raised on Oahu and have lived in Kailua for 20 years, where I'm raising my two kids. My educational background is in natural resource management and urban planning. I've spent my career at the Department of Land and Natural Resources for the federal government and at the city. And I also spent 9 years at the legislature. And so I have a lot of experience with dealing with the city and the state and the legislature. I think I could bring that expertise to the board. I'm interested in just making Kailua a great place to live and making it a place that my kids can call home once they graduate and move on and come back from college. So that's it. Thank you.
Okay, mahalo. If we could check your address, please. Okay, as soon as this third address is verified, we will open up all three candidates to questions from the board. And then when we vote, each member will vote for two candidates. And all three addresses have been verified. If I could ask the candidates to gather by the microphone. And do any board members have questions for the three nominees? Donna Wong.
I know the answer, Larry's answer to this question, so I won't ask him. Do either of you or both of you think that short-term vacation rentals belong in residential neighborhoods?
I do not believe that they belong in residential neighborhoods.
And I have to agree, it's just gotten out of hand, so I don't believe in it either.
Other questions for the nominees? All right. Oh, Kellyanne Kobayashi.
Is this on? Okay. I was wondering if any of you would join our committees. We have a bunch of committees.
I would be interested in joining the zoning committee and probably the transportation committee. And then, yeah, those would be my top two choices, but I'd be open to any of the other ones as well.
And yes, I'd be interested in joining the committee. I think that's part of any board. No big board can handle everything. It's a large group and it has to get done with smaller groups to become more efficient. And I'm just very interested in this position. I ran 2 years ago and wasn't one of the winners, but just to show that this is not something I just popped up with last night. It's something I've been interested in a while now. Thank you.
I would hope to be appointed to Donna Wong's zoning committee. Also, I used to chair Parks and Recreation. I would be happy to serve on that committee also.
Other questions for our candidates? Traffic Council.
I wonder if you can share your thoughts on the efforts to make our community more friendly for people biking and walking. If you feel that's a good effort, if we should continue that, or if you have other concerns about that. Just your initial thoughts about our efforts to do, I guess, complete streets, if you will. Or
I also ride a bike here in town, and I think that there needs to be some help, and I would say not only for bikers, but also for joggers and people just walking their dogs. The number of people I see that are driving down the bike lanes so they can avoid someone making a left turn, it's just gotten crazy at a lot of locations. So yeah, I believe that we do need to work on something with that.
Yeah, with the electric bicycles, the question has become very confusing because I see them going 40 miles an hour in a bike lane now. And people, especially on Kailua here and a few other places, walk in those lanes. And so I think and I haven't followed this for a few years. I wasn't on the board in 2015, or I was on the board in 2015 before the electric bike rage. And I know at the time, even then, the police were reticent to enforce the biking laws, where bikes are supposed to be in the commercial zoning versus the residential zoning and so forth. So it's always been a question, it's always been a problem. I've always supported more people on foot or on bikes or other means of transportation than four-wheel automobiles. But it's been extremely difficult for the police to manage. But I'd be happy to, get into that issue.
Kailua is like one of the best places to ride a bike or walk. It's so flat and you can pretty much get anywhere you need to go. And so I'm a huge proponent of making it safer for everyone. As a mom with kids that bike to school, I'm always, extra cautious and always trying to explain to them that they have to be the one to see the car, and that they, no matter what, even if they're in a crosswalk or doing the right thing, that doesn't mean that everyone else is. And I also have my father lives with us and he goes walking, and I'm always a little scared when he tries to cross the street because at the corner that I live on, there is no stop sign and people race up and down that street. So I'm very passionate about that and trying to keep it safe for everybody.
All right. Any other questions? Lavani Lipton.
Yes, this question's for Jennifer. Did you say you currently work for DLNR? Your prior work history was with DLNR.
Previously worked for DLNR. Okay. Other questions? Evan Weber.
Aloha. All of you mentioned concern about the way that Kailua already has changed or maybe changing in the future, and some desire to preserve certain characteristics of it. My question for you all is, what do each of you think is the biggest threat to Kailua's future as a town?
Other questions?
I think the thing, as I mentioned earlier, that really drew me to Kailua was the fact that it's got that small town feel. It isn't a small town, it's much bigger than the one I grew up in, but it's still a small town feel, and that's what I like to try to keep. And of course, the internet has kind of made Kailua much more discoverable and Instagrammable and all of that. So I think tourism is good as it is for our whole island, because economically it's very important. But we just need to find a way to control the numbers of people that come and where they go. For example, Lani Kai, great beach, great neighborhood, but it just isn't made for the tourism that's coming there. So we could try to work on a plan for monitoring that and keeping it a little bit more even. I'll admit that I haven't been on this board and I don't know everything. And one of the things that I do when I join an organization is sit back and learn, observe. And so I'm sure that I'll come up with more thoughts once I see them. But there's some things that I see that aren't necessarily reality, because I don't know what's really going on behind the scenes. And this is an important thing, I think, for me to learn as a new board member. And then I can give a lot more intelligent response. But that's what I would try to do, just to try to regulate the amount of tourism that comes in and make it so it's more enjoyable for the tourists and the residents as well.
I think the biggest issue facing Kailua is the price of housing and keeping people here. But I mean, that's a huge issue for the whole state. So I think as like a neighborhood board and on the community level, just making it a safe and great place to live, just doing, like what the board does, trying to advocate for stop signs and speed bumps and stopping monster homes and stopping illegal vacation rentals, making sure water quality is good, things that we can actually control at this board level. But I mean, but also weighing in on the bigger issues that are out there. But I definitely think housing costs and keeping people that live here able to live here, that have been here for generations or even have just been, only been here for a few years. I mean, everyone wants to live in Kailua and everyone should have an opportunity to do that if they can.
The big advantage to going last is I can say I agree with both of them completely. And but having the experience to be on this board for a long time and involved in some of these issues very deeply, Kailua faces two major problems. One is a single landowner runs most of the city, and the other is the city wants Kailua to be a tourist destination. That's the political battle this board has to face. And we faced it and faced it and faced it. And if we relax, we lose, because the city would love to see Kailua as a tourist destination, and so would the major landowner.
Steve Trekker.
I would like to hear from all three of you what your opinions are about an issue that's coming before us today and probably a lot in the future, and that is locating the landfill and whether or not I guess two things. One, how do you feel about the landfill being located in the current designated area near Wahiawa? And secondly, how do you feel about a landfill being designated and located in Kailua, anywhere in the Kailua Windward neighborhood?
Yeah, great question. 10 years ago, 12 years ago, we were working on this very same issue. And Mayor Hanneman tried to pit Kailua against Waianae. And I went to a Waianae neighborhood board meeting And I stood up and I said, you know, Kailua is not your enemy. Honolulu generates the garbage. They either want to put it in Kailua or Waianae. Says, you know that Cocoa Head is an accepted site for your garbage? Let's put it in Cocoa Head. Now, I know that's not realistic. I got that. But the fact is, it would cost the city a major fortune to relocate the dump back up here. And one reason is the sorting at Campbell for H-Power. That means that trucks would have to go, either the sorting facility might have to be moved here, or the trucks would have to travel twice across the island from Honolulu, you know, to get sorted, then back to Kailua for dump. So I think that's a saving grace for us, but I'm not sure, you know. Chuck Prentice, a former board chair, was on the mayor's commission. What was that, Donna? Mayor's commission about where the dump should be. And, you know, we fought this battle for years, but I assume it's going to stay in Waianae.
I think that honestly, nobody really wants to have a landfill in their backyard. But what I think is the most important thing is that we have to protect our water resources. And we have to be sure that it's not going to be placed over the water. There's such a limited supply of fresh water. I think that really needs to be a very major consideration.
I was actually at the December board meeting, and so I heard Gary Weller give all the reasons why it was so bad, which I, of course, agreed with, and especially because it's right by the two schools and all the other issues that you brought up. But I, of course, am not for it in Kailua. I think the city has a pretty big issue to deal with. I'm also very against them amending the legislative bill that's come up this session to try to change the criteria for where it will be. And I've actually already advocated to people in the legislature that I know to not do that.
All right. Well, thank you for all these terrific answers. Each of you have done your homework and are involved in the community. And are there any additional questions? All right, let's put it to a vote. Each board member should list two names, and first name or last name or both, whichever is easier for you. The three candidates again are Jennifer Barra, Larry Bartley, and Jay Etzenbach. That's in alphabetical order. So Josiah Hakau. Okay, there's a request for the names again. It's Jennifer Barra, Larry Bartley, Jay Etzenbach, Josiah Cow.
Vote for Jennifer. That's all.
Only one. Okay, we're asking for members to vote for two names because there are two openings.
Then I abstain. I don't want to be the one to choose.
Okay, Jennifer.
Great.
Jennifer Barra. Travis Council.
Jennifer and Jay.
Jennifer and Jay. Jeff Klein.
Jennifer and Etzenbach. Sorry if I pronounced that wrong.
Jennifer and Jay. Kellyanne Kobayashi.
Jennifer and Jay.
Jennifer and Jay. David Laea.
Jennifer and Larry.
Jennifer and Larry. Jade Lau.
Jennifer and Jay.
Jennifer and Jay. Lavani Lipton.
Jennifer and Jay.
Jennifer and Jay. Kayala Morel.
Jennifer and Jay.
Jennifer and Jay. Kate Ryder.
Jennifer and Jay.
Jennifer and Jay. Claudine Tomasa,
Jennifer and Larry.
Jennifer and Larry. Steve Trecker,
Jennifer and Jay.
Jennifer and Jay. Evan Weber,
Jennifer and Larry.
Jennifer and Larry. Gary Weller, Jennifer and Larry. John White, Donna Wong, Jennifer and Larry. Jeff Zuckernick, and chair votes Jennifer and Larry. All right, the vote total is Jennifer Barra, 15 votes. Jay Etzenbach, 8 votes. Larry Bartley, 6 votes. 10 votes are necessary for election. So Jennifer Barra has been elected to fill one of the 2 vacancies. Congratulations, Jennifer. We will have a second round of voting for the second open seat. Yes. Yes, technically that should occur. Oh, okay. If Anson, if you could swear in Jennifer as our newest member. All right. Congratulations, Jennifer. Jennifer, you can have a seat as our newest member. Democracy in action. Okay, we now have one remaining opening for Subdistrict 4. We will take a vote now on the remaining opening. And again, please give one name this time, Larry Bartley or Jay Etzenbach. Josiah Acow.
I abstain.
Abstain. Travis Council. Jay. Jeff Klein. Jay. Kellyanne Kobayashi.
Jay.
Jay. David Laea. Larry. Jade Lau.
Jay.
Jay. Lavani Lipton.
Jay.
Jay. Kayla Morel.
Jay.
Jay. And I took this out of order because I forgot to ask Jennifer. Jennifer Barra. Larry. Kate Ryder.
Jay.
Jay. Claudine Tomasa.
Larry.
Larry. Steve Trecker. Jay. Evan Weber. Larry. Gary Weller. Larry. John White. Donna Wong. Larry. Jeff Zuckernick. Chair votes Larry. Seven votes for Larry Bartley. Eight votes for Jay Etzenbach and one abstention. The votes have not
Mr. Chair, I
changed.
my intent to serve.
I'm sorry?
Withdraw my intent to serve. Take me out of the nominating
Okay,
process.
all right, Larry Bartley withdraws. We still need 10. So a third round of voting. This is either a yay or a nay for Jay Etzenbach for the remaining opening. Josiah Cow. Abstain. Travis Council. Yes. Jeff Klein. Yes. Kellyanne Kobayashi.
Yes.
Yes. David Laea. Yes. Jade Lau. Yes. Thank you for the reminder. Jennifer Barra. Yes. Lavani Lipton.
Yes.
Yes. Kayla Morel.
Yes.
Yes. Kate Ryder. Yes. Claudine Tomasa.
Yes.
Claudine Tomasa. Yes. Steve Trecker. Yes. Evan Weber. Yes. Gary Weller. Yes. John White. Donna Wong. Abstain. Jeff Zuckernick. Chair votes yes. All right, with 14 votes in favor and 2 abstentions, Jay Etzenbach, you have now displaced Jennifer Barra as our newest board member. Congratulations. We'll now have the swearing in ceremony. Congratulations. All right, we are at full strength with 19 board members. Congratulations to our 2 newest members and a debt of gratitude and thanks to Larry Bartley for decades of incredible service and continuing service to the Kailua community in matters of importance. We appreciate your wisdom, expertise, and leadership and continuing to advocate for Kailua. New board members are reminded that this is for the term ending June 30th. If you wish to continue beyond June 30th, that's up to the voters. But to give the voters a chance, you have to register. And that deadline is February 21st. All right. Thank you very much for this exercise in democracy. We will move on to Honolulu Police Department and Honolulu Fire Department reports, starting with HPD.
Good evening. I'm Officer Jared Atkins of the District 4 Community Policing Team, online as well as Lieutenant Akagi. He's the commander for the Night Watch. I have the stats for January 2025. Our motor vehicle thefts, there were 2 in January versus 4 the previous month. Burglaries, there were 3 in January versus 3 the previous month. For thefts, there were 19 in January versus 19 the previous month. UMVs or car break-ins, there were 7 in January versus 2 the previous month. Robberies, there was 1 in January versus 2 the previous month. And then just a couple announcements for the community. We want to remind the community that Kailua Neighborhood Park is not a dog park. On the Kailua town side of the parking lot, no dogs are allowed in that area. You can walk your dog on leash on the Kalaheo side of the parking lot, or you can go to the new dog parking in Kaneohe. We are conducting enforcement in the park and issuing citations, so please don't take your dog on the Kailua town side of the parking lot. It's against park rules. We also are having coffee with the cop tomorrow at Enchanted Lake Starbucks from 9 a.m. to 11. The District 4 Community Policing Team will be there to talk story with anybody that shows up. There's free coffee. Come on down if you want to talk with HPD about anything. And then finally, we're looking for either an individual or a group to maybe start a Kailua graffiti paint out. Kaneohe does something similar where twice a year they get a bunch of people to volunteer, do community service, go paint all the graffiti around the town. We're looking to start that in Kailua, so if anyone is interested, they could just email me. I'll put it in the chat. It's just jatkins@honolulu.com. And that's all I have. I mean, sorry, jatkins@honolulu.gov. That's all I have.
All right. Hello, Officer Atkins. Questions for Officer Atkins this evening? Kate Ryder.
I just was wondering, do you have a legal liaison in the police department? And by that, I mean, do you have someone who evaluates orders and new regulations to ensure that they comply with state law and the Constitution?
Yes, we do.
And I'm asking this in terms of the light of recent national events.
Yes, we do.
And on top of that, do you also confirm that you will still follow your oath to follow the Constitution and your own and the laws, and to not and to commit to not enforcing any regulations that are morally wrong or illegal?
Yes, we all take an oath to follow the Constitution.
I appreciate that. Thank you. And I would like to volunteer for the graffiti paint out.
Okay, great. You can just email me. I'll put my email in the chat.
Other questions for Officer Atkins? Travis Council.
Thanks, Chair. I think a lot of the community saw the car fire or the vehicle fire that was on Hamakua maybe 2 weeks or a month ago. I'm curious if you can share any tips to the community to help identify either abandoned vehicles or vehicles that might be problematic before they get lit on fire. Ideally, we can avoid those things in the future, but any tips you can provide to have the community help identify that would be great.
Yeah, you can always call 911 for abandoned vehicles. We can come out and tag them and mark them for abandoned vehicles. They also have the abandoned vehicle section online where you can submit those vehicles as well, and they'll come out and take a look at it, see if they're abandoned, and take appropriate action.
Gary Weller.
Hi, do you think that we could have another one of the coffee with a cop at a Kahi Starbucks?
Yes, we can try and do that on the next one in Kailua.
We've seen an uptick in our neighborhood in certain problems, and some of the community people saw me driving down the street to come to the board meeting tonight. And I think it would be to your advantage to talk to some of the neighbors. Thank you.
Okay. Do you think you could email me those concerns? I live in that area, so I would love to know them.
Yes,
Okay.
if you want to share your email with Bill off the speaker or whatever,
Okay.
that's fine with me. Bill will get it to me.
Will do.
Kellyanne Kobayashi.
I was wondering if you could elaborate more on the graffiti cleanup group. Were you asking for volunteers just from the board, or is that like anyone in the community can volunteer? And are you organizing the group, or are you trying to get one of us to like organize a group?
Yeah, it could be anyone in the community, not just the board members. So someone in the community in Kaneohe does it. We're trying to see if anyone's interested in basically organizing it. We would support that, try and support them, but we wouldn't be running it ourselves. We're kind of looking for someone or a group to do it, and we would pair them up with the Kaneohe group who's already doing it twice a year to kind of follow their lead, and then kind of branch off on their own or partner with them. It's called Malama 96744. They do it twice a year. So we're trying to look at kind of doing that as well in Kailua. But yeah, we're looking for someone to actually kind of take the lead on it.
And then for the group, would there be any like supplies, or where we would have to
Yes.
fundraise our own?
No, so we do Kaneohe gets some grants and some businesses pitch in. So we'd probably be able to figure out the supplies pretty easily.
Thank you.
Yep.
Officer Atkins, you were going to put your email address in chat, and if you could also provide me with the Kaneohe volunteer group contact information so that we can learn more from Kaneohe's experience.
Sure, I'll put that in. It's just called Malama 96744, but I'll put that in as well.
Okay, thank you. Other questions for HPD tonight? Any questions from the audience? Terry, if you could use the microphone, please.
Officer Atkins, I was curious to know how many open positions we have, unfilled positions we currently have in the police force in District 4. Thank you.
In District 4, I'd have to get back to you on that number. And department-wide, I think there's a little over 400.
Over 100 vacancies HPD wide.
Oh, sorry, over 400, I believe.
400 vacancies HPD wide. That's a lot.
Windward, I'll get back to you on that next meeting.
Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you for your service, Officer Adkins.
All right, thank you.
Honolulu Fire Department.
Good evening, Captain Pangilinan, Kailua Fire Station. The statistics provided represent the confirmed number of incidents in the neighboring board's geographical area for the previous month. For more details on the incidents and related mapping information, please visit the fire response map on our HFD website at fire.honolulu.gov under the news and info tab. Should you have any questions, please email the HFD's Public Affairs Media Liaison at hfdnhb@honolulu.gov. On to the statistics for January 2020. Structure fires, we had 0. Wildland or brush fires, we had 0. Nuisance fires, we had 2, sorry. Cooking fires, 0. And activated alarms where there are no fire, we had 10. We had 109 medicals, 1 motor vehicle collision involving a pedestrian, 3 vehicle crashes, collisions. We had 0 mountain rescues, 0 ocean rescues, and 2 hazardous materials incidents. Now for the fire safety tip for February 2025. Power outage preparedness. Here are a few ways you and your family can be prepared for a power outage. First, prepare your supplies. Ensure your flashlights, radios, etc. contain batteries that are charged. Don't forget to charge extra batteries. Prepare your family. Check in with family members. If anyone relies on medical devices requiring power, ensure you plan ahead of time. Prepare your food and water. Set your fridge and freezer to the coldest settings. Keep them closed as much as possible during the outage. Fill up water containers for drinking and other needs. Protect your electronics. Unplug unnecessary electronics to prevent damage from power outages. Never touch down power lines. Always assume lines are energized and dangerous. For more safety tips, visit honolulu.gov/DEM. Learn more about power outages at hawaiianelectric.com/storm center. That concludes my report. Are there any questions?
Questions for HFD tonight? David Laya.
I'm just curious if an assessment has been done about the risk of wildfire here in Kailua and where it might be the highest risk and what would you like us to be focusing on to prevent a wildfire?
Yeah, we have a risk matrix, and it's developed by every area on the island. So we rank it on a scale, each one, and we'll give it a numerical number to show the exact areas where the highest risk.
And where are those top areas right now?
Yeah, I can't speak on that because I don't have all the information.
Okay.
But, can assume, in fact, I can bring that get the information for you to see where we're at with that matrix.
If you could email it to me, I'll forward it to the board and include it in our meeting materials.
Okay.
Mahalo. Any other questions for HFD online? In the audience? Yes.
Not to my knowledge, but I can check and I can get it.
And if I heard the statistics correctly, 0 mountain rescues and 0 ocean rescues.
That's correct.
Steve Trekker, I don't think we've had 0 before. 0 mountain rescues and 0 ocean rescues. Okay, mahalo. Keep up. I know you're always prepared for any emergency, and we appreciate your service to Kailua. Okay, next item on the agenda is the landfill permitted interaction group preliminary findings and recommendations. I'll turn this over to Donna Wong. Next item on the agenda is landfill permitted interaction group preliminary findings and recommendations. Donna Wong.
Yes, okay. At the last meeting, it was up in the air where the landfill was going to be located, and we had 3 or 4 sites that were being looked at in Kailua. So the board instantly formed a permitted interaction group. And so when Kailua wasn't selected, the pressure was off. So we'd like to recommend from the PIG, the first one is the motion that the Kailua, do you want me to read the motion? Are you going to read the motion down?
Well, are we ready for the motion?
Yeah, I just want to explain the motion. is that there's a lot of landfill bills. And because committees only meet once a month and then the board doesn't meet till the following month, we just wouldn't be able to keep up with all the bills and all of the changes and present meaningful testimony at all of them. So we came up with a standard statement on all bills.
All right, the motion from the permitted interaction group is the Kailua Neighborhood Board opposes any bill that changes Act 73, eliminates a prohibition of landfills in the conservation district, or reduces the half-mile buffer zone of a landfill around a waste or disposal facility between the edge of waste or waste activity and the nearest residential, school, or hospital property line. These existing provisions are essential to protect the environmental integrity of land designated conservation and protect the health of Kailua residents from health issues associated with landfills. Although in a more general sense, it'd be the health of residents anywhere. This being a motion from a group, it does not require a second. Is there any discussion on the motion? Online? Travis Council.
Perhaps not directly on the motion, but that could help with the motion, a little more background of how the committee met or the PIG met and any conversations that came out of it. I agree that they've selected a different location, but I think we've all heard that that location has a lot of challenges and in my personal opinion, probably won't move forward due to those challenges. So I don't think we're out of the clear, which this motion could very much so become necessary in the future as well. So maybe Donna, if you can expand on any other conversations the committee had or other thoughts that might be relevant to supporting this motion.
Talk about that now or when we make the motion for the extension?
I would say let's talk about it now, and we'll handle the extension as a separate motion.
Okay, well, the pig, so this, during my terms, there's been one other pig, and that was on Kawainui Marsh. And that was over several months. And it was quite extensive research. And the committee came out with a report. This was rushed, and we had over the holidays. And so what we have been doing is compiling information, and such as there's discussions about how far away from a landfill hospital residents and schools should be. Some reports are saying 1.5 miles, others 1 mile. So we want to look, we need to look more deeply and come up with recommendations in our report as to why a landfill wouldn't be appropriate in Kailua. Let's start off with, we've already had 6 since 1940. So we've done our share, but the sites that they're looking at, we couldn't figure out where Olamana was because it's a dot on some property. Couldn't figure out where the Pully and was it Pully and Castle Junction, because it's a dot. So we couldn't figure out what those areas were. They're designated conservation, but whether they had the attributes of a conservation district was something that we couldn't determine. So that our further research, we've met 3 times. Once in person and once on Zoom.
David Laia.
I'll just add to just kind of clarify the backstory on the PIG discussions and the resolution. The current legislation, Act 73, stipulates that the landfill shall not be built within a half mile of the schools and structures. The other or alternative sites that were proposed were not clear. The main one was the Amron Quarry area. The other was the near Olamana School, the boys' home. And the other was the HPU campus. So around that area. It was not clear as to what specific locations they were talking about in that. But Act 73 says you also cannot build in a conservation district. And so being a conservation district within a half mile of locations, that's what's in Act 73 currently. There is legislation that's being proposed to possibly change Act 73 to allow the construction of a landfill in a conservation district. The other is possibly to change that buffer zone from a half mile to something less than a half mile, which would then put it closer to residentials and school areas. And so at the time of our committee meetings, the legislature or the decision was made to select the Wahiawa site. And so the other alternative sites were never really brought forward. So all we are doing as the PIG is to ask that Act 73 be respected as it is and not make any changes to that. We don't want them to change the border or the buffer zone, and we don't want to allow them to build in a conservation district. So I think those are the key issues that we saw. So.
Okay, mahalo. Levani Lipton.
Donna and the PIG team, I know that your focus is mostly around land use and policy, but I'm wondering if you will include in your final report other concerns, like with this recent storm, how that could impact the site and potential for flooding and pollution into nearby areas like Kawainui. So I don't know if you're going to take into account some of the impacts from extreme environmental events, but that would be also another angle that would not support this, just in case they do change these other parameters. Not support a landfill.
We have looked at that. And that's one of our headings, safety, health, environment, all of those categories that would impact the land and people. We've got those in categories. And so now we just have to scour the reports and look for more reports to come up with some conclusion.
Yeah, my understanding is that before Waimanalo Gulch, the Oahu landfill from 1970 to 1997 was Kapaa Quarry. And that site still has monitoring requirements for off-gassing and runoff. And its situation relative to Kawanui Marsh was always problematic. And I think that earlier Kailua experience as being Oahu's landfill was part of the impetus behind Act 73 in 2020. I think that those experiences helped inform portions of the provisions of Act 73. Am I mistaken on any of that, Donna? Okay. Other board member comments? Gary Weller?
we've accumulated probably, I don't know, 40 documents talking about landfills. And I just happened to be going to the Safeway grocery store in Akahi. That's the shopping center closest to my home. And they're doing tremendous renovations there. And so they were cutting the concrete. Mind you that nothing is going on at the Safeway store there since the shopping center was built. So I'm a curious kind of guy, and they cut the cement and they were digging trenches there to put in conduit, water lines, and et cetera. And I started to see that the soil was way different. And that was one of the first landfills over here. So we have a habit of burying things, not analyzing them, not thinking about the future, what goes on in these landfills, how they, I've found examples where the EPA has said that liners, when they were put in, even though the city wants to do a double liner, a contractor does that job. And all across the nation, the EPA has found that contractors sometimes tear the liners and it doesn't get checked out. And the leaching gets down into the soil. And like Donna said, we've had our fill of these over here. I don't want to see another landfill here for another important reason is that there was a traffic study done when the King family wanted to extend the industrial park. And at that time, there were 7,500 cars a day that traveled the Quarry Road. I was flabbergasted with that number. That was in 2006. The city states that between trucks, cars, and people bringing their garbage over here could add another 1,000 cars to that. That road is already so dangerous. It's my pet peeve that the city doesn't take care of it. And we want to put more vehicles, more heavy, gigantic trucks, garbage trucks coming there every day. I really see that this is going to be a real potential problem. So that's just my opinion. I'm going to share some of those documents with our neighborhood board Google Drive site, and board members can start looking at them also. Thank you.
Okay, other discussion on the motion. Donna Wong.
Just one more thing. None of the landfills in Kailua, even the ones adjacent to Kauai Nui and in Kauai Nui, are lined. Have ever been lined, have any lining, nothing. So leaching into the marsh, making its way onto the ocean, all possible.
Gary Weller.
If you want to get some data very quickly, just Google EPA and landfills, EPA wetland and landfills, EPA and health reasons why you don't want to live near a landfill. And you'll see that the half a mile that they've designated is way smaller than the amount that the EPA recommends, which I think is 1.5 miles, but I could be wrong. It's more than a half a mile. So those are some documents you can quickly read. They're all 10, 25, 30 pages long. Thank you.
Jeff Klein.
Well, one of the things that wasn't mentioned in the bill is that tsunami inundation zones are not allowed to be used as for landfill locations. So that basically eliminates coast areas, right? Which also means that if we're going to build a landfill, it's probably going to be over potable water. Everybody's a NIMBY when it comes, including me, when it comes to a landfill location, but it seems like we're going to have to make some compromises somewhere. Their technology has gotten a lot better. I'd like to see Gary's. When I looked up EPA, they recommended 200 feet for wetlands, and that could be reduced if they could show reason for it. So, the longest buffer zone that's been legislated that I could find was 500 meters, which is roughly a third of a mile, I'm sorry. So, as much as I'd love to see 73, Act 73 stay in place and hopefully we can find a location that can meet those criteria, but I'm not convinced that, I haven't been able to get an answer on, are there any locations on the island that meet those criteria? So unless we can find a location like that, there's going to have to be something done, or unless we can convince people to stop producing solid waste, which probably is not going to happen.
Evan Weber.
Yeah, just wanted to first say mahalo to the pick for your work on this. And yeah, I'll be happy to support the motion and the extension to continue the work. I just kind of wanted to state a bigger picture comment building off of what Jeff said, and just kind of express some frustration about the way that this whole conversation has played out from the city. No town wants a landfill in their backyard, right? And so obviously this is kind of a game of whack-a-mole. And if you want to be cynical, you can look at the fact that the city puts out a press release listing a bunch of sites on the east side. And so everyone says, okay, look, it's probably going to be in Kailua. And then they announce it in Wahiawa right over the aquifer. So of course, now the legislature is responding to change the laws to punt it back to Kailua. And look, okay, what? So now we're expected to just eat shit, if you'll pardon my language. So it's, yeah, I just wanted to state the obvious about how this process played out. I think what's frustrating is that lost in all of this is that we're not actually talking about long-term solutions. And the big picture here is that as an island, we need to figure out how to reduce waste and how to have a more circular economy. So as both city and state officials are continuing to look at this problem, it would be great if we could hear about some big picture and medium and long-term solutions and not just playing whack-a-mole, because if this gets resolved in the next year, I don't want to have another town get stuck with a landfill till 15 years from now or whatever the timeline will be. And, you know, we do have a dump at Kapa'a Quarry. Wow, wouldn't it be great if Kailua could be a part of the solution too? What if we could start building recycling facilities out there and have jobs for our local community? So hope both at a level here in Kailua and at the city and state level that we'll actually start talking about solutions instead of just playing this ridiculous whack-a-mole game every 5, 10, 15 years.
Other comments? Online? Audience comments? Larry Barley, if you could use the microphone, please.
You heard me bring up the question in the beginning, or the comment, my response to somebody's question about landfills. I don't see how this could change if the trucks have to go to Campbell, to H Power. How are they going to afford to drive those trucks all the way back to Kailua, refill, rather than go to Nanakuli? Does anybody have an answer to that? Is that a consideration? Anybody here on your, I guess we're questioning the committee now about where this came from, what's in front of us. Because I know that was a big factor 10 years ago when we were looking at the same thing. How are you going to get those trucks? You're going to have to burn twice as much diesel fuel for a truck from Kailua or a Honolulu to go to Campbell. Either that or you're going to have to abandon a lot of the power at H Power. And they just added a third generating station there about 7 or 8 or 9 years ago. So they're relying on that fuel. So has this come up in a discussion anywhere? Donna, I don't know. Just wondering, that's all, because I brought it up earlier and it was a big factor 10 years ago why it stayed in Nanakuli. Thank you.
No, that's something we hadn't thought about. So I put that down. We'll look at that.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Malia Spinda. I'm a Kailua girl, born and raised. I was raised on one of the side streets along North Kalaheo. So I was a kid growing up here when we had the the dump back in the day. And Jeff, I'm not sure if you were raised here, but I can assure you that when a night like now, you could smell that dump all the way along North Kaleo. It is a blanket of smell across Kailua. And if they get their hands on Ameren, it's not just going to be Kailua that's smelling it, because this is a still night. It's going to be Kaneohe. And it's going to just, I mean, like, you don't know the smell that happened in this town. So, and I don't know if anybody else remembers it, but I do, because my mother always would complain to me as a little kid, and it's etched in my mind. And so in honor of my mother, I will continue to be vigilant against this dump for our town. That said, on the vigilant point, with the legislation that we're seeing to try to repeal Act 73, we should continue to be vigilant to watch. It's not just, I'm not go to think should continue. I think from what I understand, there are new methods that would decrease the usage of that dump, so therefore prolong its life. That's part one, but we need to be vigilant to watch, because even when that dump really is at its end, that we're not next, because we should be looking multi-generations that it's still not our turn. Even after Waimanalo Gulch, not our turn, maybe we're after that. And that's 2 generations away. So I just want to keep everybody really aware and watch that legislation, because if, it can be tricky, and suddenly we're set up for the next time. So thank you.
Mahalo, Melinda.
Terry George. I'm president and CEO of the Harold K. Castle Foundation, and we spent the last decade investing in a whole bunch of nonprofit organizations that are trying to restore health to the Aina in Kailua, all of Ko'olaupoku, and much of Ko'olauloa. And I just wanted to mahalo the pig. And I strongly agree with their recommendation to the neighborhood board. And my fear is that if the board does not act to oppose any change to Act 73, then other legislators will say, well, maybe Kailua doesn't care that much. And so maybe it's okay for us to adjust Act 73. And that runs into the risk that almost everybody has just talked about. So thank you for your work.
Mahalo, Terry. Other questions or comments? Okay, I call for the vote on the motion. This is the motion that the Kailua Neighborhood Board opposes any bill that changes Act 73. Josiah Cow. I'm sorry? Yes. Travis Council. Jennifer Barra. Yes. Jay Etzenbach. Yes. Jeff Klein. Yes. Kellyanne Kobayashi.
Yes.
Yes. David Laea. Yes. Jade Lau. Yes. Lavani Lipton.
Yes.
Yes. Kayala Morel.
Yes.
Yes. Kate Ryder. Yes. Claudine Tomasa.
Yes.
Yes. Steve Trecker.
Yes.
Yes. Evan Weber. Yes. Gary Weller. Yes. John White. Donna Wong. Yes. Jeff Suckernick. Chair votes yes. Motion passes unanimously with 17 votes. The permitted action group had a second motion, which is the Kailua Neighborhood Board grants the Kailua Landfill Permitted Interaction Group an extension until the March 6, 2025 Kailua Neighborhood Board meeting to present a final report. Any comments on that, Donna Wong?
No, I think I explained the reasons why before. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Okay, any discussion on the motion? Online? Residents? Okay, I call for the motion. This is to extend the final report from the permitted interaction group to the March meeting. Josiah Acow. Yes. Jennifer Vera. Yes. Travis Council. Yes. Jay Etzenbach. Yes. Jeff Klein. Yes. Kellyanne Kobayashi.
Yes.
Yes. David Laia. Yes. Jade Lau. Yes. Lavani Lipton.
Yes.
Yes. Kayla Morrell.
Yes.
Yes. Kate Ryder. Yes. Claudine Camasa.
Yes.
Yes. Steve Trecker. Yes. Evan Weber. Yes. Gary Weller. Yes. John White. Donna Wong. Yes. Jeff Suckernick. Chair votes yes. Motion is approved unanimously with 17 votes. All right. Well, thank you, Permitted Interaction Group, for the work to date, and we'll look forward to the final report next month. Next order of business are committee motions. The Kailua Neighborhood Board supports the following comments, questions, and recommendations as comments on the Navy's Hawaii, California training and testing DEIS Overseas Environmental Impact Statement. This motion is from the Planning, Zoning, and Environment Committee. A complete list of the comments, which is about 3.5 pages, is contained in the PZ&E January report. Donna Wong, would you like to further introduce this motion?
Yeah, this was really difficult. This is 4 volumes and over maybe 10 appendices. It was over 2,832 pages. And it's covering the Navy's expanding their exercises from California to Hawaii. I read as much as I could of the CIS. It's a lot of it is repetitive. A lot of it's super scary. And of concern to our ocean, to the marine life, to the environment. And I hope you had a chance to read our comments. So we're asking questions and that we ask that they be answered in the FEIS, Final Environmental Impact Statement. And so it's not opinions, it's not statements, it's just issues that center around what's going to happen in Kaneohe Bay and by extension over to Kailua and then Bellows. And so we're asking questions to be answered in their final.
I noticed the Windward Coalition had not the same questions, but questions and comments along a similar vein to many of ours. All right, is there any additional discussion on the motion? Online? Evan Weber.
Yeah, mahalo for reading however many of the 2,000 pages for all of us, Donna. Can you, for those of us who may not have read a single page, could you just inform us the status of this, this proposal, where it's at, and when it's what the timeline is?
Well, the comments are due on the EIS, the 11th.
Right.
So
And then the final EIS, and then what is their hope to start this? What do you know what the timeline for that is?
have a date to start. Do you, Bill?
This is a periodic permit. I'm not certain, but I think it's on the order of 10 years And so this is a renewal with, some adjustments. It's part of an ongoing process that authorizes the Navy to conduct certain training activities in the Pacific Ocean between California and Hawaii, including offshore. So it, I think that what is drawing the most attention are the areas where there are changes that are being proposed. But I'm not sure when the date is of when the current one expires and when this one would take effect. But I think it recurs every 10 years. Other questions or comments online? Any audience questions or comments on the Navy training permit? Okay, call for the vote. It's a committee motion, does not require a second. Josiah Cow? Yes. Travis? Oh, no, we're going to hold off here. Jennifer Barra? Yes. Travis Council? Yes. Jay Etzenbach? Yes. Jeff Klein? Yes. Kellyanne Kobayashi?
Yes.
Yes. David Laia?
Yes.
Yes. Jade Lau? Yes. Levani Lipton?
Yes.
Yes. Gayla Morel?
Yes.
Yes. Kate Ryder? Yes. Claudine Tomasa?
Yes.
Yes. Steve Trekker? Yes. Kevin Weber? Yes. Gary Weller? Yes. John White? Donna Wong? Yes. Jeff Zuckernick? Chair votes yes. Motion passes unanimously with 17 votes. Next committee motion is the Kailua Neighborhood Board requests that any reports produced by consultants hired by the City and County of Honolulu relating to water quality, including studies pertaining to wastewater and stormwater in Kailua's watersheds, be shared with the Kailua Neighborhood Board's Water Quality Subcommittee to inform the public's understanding and assist us in our community outreach. We request that such reports be made available free of charge and expedited by the Office of Information Practices. Levani Lipton, would you like to expand upon this motion?
Sure. It's self-explanatory mostly, but the fact is that as residents and taxpayers, we are often paying for these, not often, we are paying for studies that are being done, and there are decisions being made based on these studies. And so, in light of all that's going on with our big storm events, our rain events, our wastewater discharges, our bacterial exceedance, we really don't want to have to independently track down, pay for, and request over and over again for these studies. We've had interested members have to file Freedom of Information Act requests and sometimes pay as much as a couple $100s to just get a copy of the report. So one of the things that our subcommittee does is a lot of community outreach and information and trying to clear up misperceptions. And so this is really just a formal request to the city that anytime they do a study, especially in our watersheds that impact the water quality of Kailua Bay, that we just be in on the loop so that we don't have to go back and forth and get ambiguous kind of abstract answers. So that's the reasoning and the rationale. Kate, did you want to add to it?
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify too that it's not necessarily like we expect printed copies of every single report created. It's more that we should have access to it. We are also a official governmental body, and so to be able to share reports and information within governing bodies seems to make sense. one of our board members, or not the board members, one of the subcommittee community members did find incorrect information in some of these reports because sometimes these contractors are not from here and they're using very, very outdated data, information, stuff from like the 1950s that doesn't take into account changes in our land and rising sea levels or anything. And so there is a very real concern and a desire to participate in to be recognized as part of the government and not, yeah.
Yeah, if a report is not made public online with a link, it's a cumbersome process to get a printed copy, and I've personally paid hundreds of dollars also on behalf of the Kailua Neighborhood Board, unreimbursed, to get these things printed at so many cents per page. And I think that a little more cooperation between government agencies on making information available is always a good thing. So thank you.
I'm not sure. I know that CERCLA regulations require that the public, these kind of reports be made available to the public in the libraries usually. I don't know if that's the case with these, what you're talking about now, but it is a requirement for a lot of environmental reports.
That's a good point, Jeff, and I don't know the answer to that. Steve Trecker.
I'm a member of the committee, the subcommittee, and I support this motion. I just wanted to add to what's been said that there have been numerous studies and reports made over the last several decades about that affect water quality in Kailua, numerous ones. And we've had to track them down, find which ones really apply to us, and we're hoping that this motion will speed things up. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Other discussion on the motion? Online? In the audience? Okay, call for the vote. Josiah Cow. Yes. Jennifer Barra. Yes. Travis Council. Yes. Jay Etzenbach. Yes. Jeff Klein. Yes. Kellyanne Kobayashi. Yes. David Laia. Yes. Jade Lau. Yes. Lavani Lipton.
Yes.
Yes. Kayla Morel.
Yes.
Yes. Kate Ryder. Yes. Claudine Tomasa.
Yes.
Yes. Steve Trecker. Yes. Evan Weber. Yes. Gary Weller. Yes. John White. Donna Wong. Yes. Jeff Zuckernick. Chair votes yes. Motion passes unanimously with 17 votes. Next order of business are local agency reports, starting with the Board of Water Supply. Danny Ornelas.
Hi, good evening. I'm Danielle Ornelas from the Board of Water. So for the month of January, there was one water main break. It was an 8-inch line on Naniali'i Street in Kailua Hills. This line was installed in 1955. And then the message from the board regarding water waste. If you see water being wasted, such as a broken pipe, a malfunctioning sprinkler, a running faucet, excessive watering, or anything similar, please let us know so we can follow up and stop the unnecessary water loss. You can visit our website at boardofwatersupply.com/water waste or email us at contact@hbws.org or call our communications department 808-748-5041. I'll put the numbers and address in the chat. Let's make every drop count and to do our part to conserve our precious and limited water supply. And then I had a follow-up regarding the Kapa'a Quarry information. So it says the contract was awarded to Non-Inc. Construction. There is no start date due to design changes and permit approvals. The current tank there is a 2 million gallon tank. The new tank proposed will be a 1 million tank, 1 million gallon quantity tank, and then to be followed with another 1 million gallon quantity tank. But no start date given. That's all I have.
Well,
Uh-oh.
this has to be budgeted. So in what fiscal year is phase one and phase two budgeted?
I don't have that. I can find out, but I don't have anything from them.
Yeah, I understand contracts have not been let and won't be for some time, but if you could
Yeah.
let us know what fiscal years the first 1 million gallon tank is budgeted for, what year dismantling of the existing 2 million gallon tank is budgeted for, and what fiscal year the second 1 million gallon replacement tank is budgeted for.
Okay.
That
Yeah.
would satisfy our need. Thank you.
Thank you.
Questions for Danny and the Board of Water Supply tonight? Online? Any audience questions? Okay, hello, Danny.
Thank you.
Next, Marine Corps Base, Hawaii representative.
Hi, good.
Aloha, Christy. Online. We can hear you.
Yes, I am online. Thank you. Good evening, everybody, community. Apologize for not being in person. I have not been well, so don't want to get anyone sick, and weather has not been good. Just a couple of information to share. Colonel Bevan attended the opening day at the Capitol. He was invited by Senator Kyokolole to join him on the chamber floor. And afterwards, he went, you know how we do our holo holo all over, meeting with the different senators and representatives. So he met with the representatives and senators from each of the districts that we associate with, Kailua, Kaneohe, Waimanalo, Kahalu, and Eva Beach. Also coming up, some opportunity for the community to come onto base to participate in the monthly runs that the Marine Corps Community Services hosts. March 8th is the Na'ali'i Run, and you can join and be sponsored onto base by going onto the website, MCCS Hawaii, and then the fitness tab, and then the race series. And there's a race every month that you can participate with. Also, in the very far future, the Blue Angels, some advertisements have already been put out on the news media, but we anticipate the time frame to be August 8th and 10th. And there is going to be opportunity for participation from businesses and community organizations who may want to have a booth, and we'll have more information in the months upcoming. And that's all I have for the evening.
Okay, mahalo. Questions for Marine Corps Base Hawaii, Donna Wong.
Yes, an alert was sent out that sewage had gone into the Nupia ponds. Can you give us an update on the quality of the water in the ponds?
I don't have any information about the water quality currently, but I can follow up with that.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Levani Lipton.
Yes. Hi, Christy. It's actually related.
Can you just see, are they testing the water regularly? And has there been any impact to the birds at Nuupia Ponds?
I will follow up with our environmental department to see if they have any updates. I do know that that occurred on Friday evening.
Thank you.
Can I, Bill?
Donna Wong.
Yes. On the same question, it was unclear where the sewage fill was from. Was it from the Kailua plant? Was it from the lines coming from the base?
Aikahi.
Can you get that information to us, please?
Yes, I can.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions online? Audience questions? Okay, mahalo, Christy.
Thank you. Good evening.
We've evolved to a semi-annual update from Adventist Health Castle, representing tonight, as he did in the fall, is Jesse Siebel. Jesse?
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Kailua Neighborhood Board. Last time I was here, I shared that Ryan Ashlock, our president, was called up to lead 2 new hospitals that Adventist Health acquired in the San Luis Obispo area. Unfortunately, our new president couldn't be here tonight. That's why I'm here. His name is Chase Alberg. He is a official resident of Kailua as of last week. He and his family have moved in. He'll be at the next neighborhood board meeting to share some news about Castle and introduce himself. Number of achievements in 2024 for Castle I want to share. We did achieve a 5-star CMS rating. Only 10% of hospitals get this rating. It's about quality and the kind of care that we provide for our community. We're really proud of that. It's a lot of hard work and it's years in the making. We hope to achieve that CMS rating again for a 3rd year in a row this year. We have seen an increase in emergency room utilization and a higher acuity with that. We are a level 3 trauma center. We participate with a round robin with EMS right now, not just serving Windward Oahu, but also taking some of that load from town. Some of you might have heard there's times where you come in an ambulance and you sit in a parking lot for a long time because ED can't take you in. And so we're able to help with that load, not just for Windward Oahu, but for the rest of the island too. We have expanded our pharmacy and we are adding a second CT machine. CT machines are essential to care, especially in those critical moments. We have 1 at Castle. 2 is a necessity, and so we're building that out. That should be operational this October. We have our solar plans. They have actually been pushed back due to permitting issues. I'll have an update for you guys later on this year on that, but that looks like it's a 2026 project right now. We've received 2 generous donations, one from the Clarence T.C. Ching Foundation and the other from the Vera Zilber Foundation. Clarence T.C. Ching helped us build out a new oncology clinic so that our Windward residents can receive a lot of great services here closer to home. And we're really proud to be offering that to people in their greatest time of need. And then we're right in the middle of a build for our birth center with some nice renovations. Our birth center actually is in the top percentile in the nation for patient experience. We take those new births very seriously. It's good things happen at a hospital too. We have to remind everyone all the time. If you're ever in our hospital, you might hear a lullaby playing over on the intercom. We play a lullaby every time a baby's born. Pretty neat. We have installed new 3D mammo machines, and we've opened up, as I mentioned, the oncology clinic and surgical clinic in Kailua, right on our, right on our main hospital campus. So I want to just touch on real quick, and you'll hear more details later in the agenda on the Hawaii Loa campus, but I did want to share a couple things from Castle's perspective. First of all, Castle remains committed to the healthcare of Windward Oahu for the last 62 years, and God willing for 62 at least more. But we need to just share a brief summary real quick of why the sale of the Hawaii Loa campus is essential to providing that care. Number 1, COVID drastically changed healthcare delivery. Healthcare is always changing, but the acceleration from what was done in a hospital to what now is done outside of a hospital, which is good. No one wants to be in a hospital. So the more care you can provide outside the hospital is better for all of us. But that has accelerated. This means that people are coming to the hospital less and less. In fact, most places in the nation that built a bigger hospital have regretted it. You need to build a bigger network of care. You need to actually deliver care to where people are. The cost of construction has drastically increased. We believe the funds to build a new hospital would be used much more effectively on our current hospital campus. And not just our current hospital campus, but also our investment in our clinics, both urgent care, primary care, and other ambulatory sites. We have made significant investments over the last several years in the tens of millions of dollars in these locations. Our hospital campus, we believe, has the potential to provide Windward Oahu with the acute healthcare needs well into the future. And we'll continue to make those investments on our current campus and community clinics to ensure we are providing the care our community needs and deserves. We see the need for the Hoilo campus to have an owner and operator that has a mission, has resources and processes to utilize the property in the best interest of Windward Oahu. We believe the state, and later you'll hear from the DLNR on the details on how they'll do that. Thank you.
Okay, questions for Jesse. Steve Trecker.
We had Castle present to us about the plans for the campus, the Wailoa campus, about 6 years ago, 5 or 6 years ago. And one of the things I think that was proposed was some type of cancer center. And I'm wondering why that particular idea has been abandoned, or is there plan to develop a cancer center on the current campus?
So yes, there is plans, and we are underway on developing an oncology cancer center on our campus, and we're building that up for years to come. I think I can summarize it this way in layman's terms, because that's how it has to be explained to me as well. Cancer treatment is changing radically, and the old cancer model of having a proton machine, a LINAC machine, where that makes it sustainable to operate a cancer center, those technologies might not be here in the next few years. The treatments are changing, and so we would be building a cancer center that we needed maybe 10 years ago, but not building something that we need 10 years in the future.
Gary Weller.
I have a few questions. Since Terry George is here tonight, how is this transfer going to work with the Harold S. Castle Foundation that was helping you acquire that campus lot? Were there any clauses in those agreements that it had to stay as a hospital? That's my first question.
When Harold Castle donated this property to create a college, along with several other places that he donated, for example, to 11, I think 5 churches, he wanted to make sure, since it was a donation rather than a sale to the highest bidder for private gain, that it would be used for charitable purposes. So he put a deed restriction on the land as part of the transaction that said that if that parcel was not operated for a period of 5 years for charitable educational purposes, it would revert back to the Harold K.L. Castle Foundation. So that was a break against, flipping it and putting a hotel on it or whatever. Because if he'd wanted to do that, he would have sold it to a hotel developer. Thank goodness he did not, because he had a vision of this being a really important parcel for the community. When Hawaiiloa failed or got transformed into HPU, the same deed restriction was there because it follows the land. And then when HPU felt it wanted to consolidate its campus downtown, except for Oceanic Institute, it approached us and said, we would like to know whether you'd be open to amending the deed. We said yes, but only since we knew that it was going to be owned by the hospital, only for charitable, educational, and healthcare purposes. So again, the restriction was amended, but still was required to be for charitable purposes. Finally, when the hospital approached us with all the reasons that you laid out so well, Jesse, to say you didn't really feel the property was necessarily needed for your mission, would we be open to, once again, potentially expanding it? So our board agreed to do that and delimited, and we recorded the deed restriction already in court, that would allow it to be used for certain charitable, educational, healthcare, and other purposes, including those that may be operated in support of charitable purposes by government, if government owned it. But we wrote it such that they had to report to us and provide an opinion of council that these proposed uses and actual uses were in line with the 501c3 part of the Internal Revenue Code. So again, it was a further break. That, therefore, it means you cannot operate a landfill on that.
That wasn't where I was going. I wanted to know if the state was going to have to condemn the land, if they're going to have the land because of those deed restrictions. And then my second issue is, if first we heard that the Department of Health was going to move into the building and have clinics in there, and now it appears that DLNR is going to be in the building, and then it's just going to be a general state office over here. So I don't understand how that's going to be within the deed restriction, especially since you've just read it now. It doesn't say any government service could own the land. Correct me if I'm wrong, okay?
Chair of DLNR, Don Chang, will be giving a presentation a little bit later on this evening, but Terry, if you want to answer that.
Yeah, I can respond maybe after Land Board Chair Don Chang speaks, if that would be helpful. Might be able to put it in greater context.
Thank you very much.
Donna Wong?
Yes, about the hospital. Your solar, you said you're going to, okay, I don't know if that previous meeting you had said you had discontinued any thought of solar?
No, we didn't discontinue. We actually submitted an initial application and we're told that it was considered a major renovation and it would be a much more extensive permitting process than we had expected.
Okay, so is it still going to be over the parking lot?
That is what one of our firms is working on right now, yes.
And
Two
then
locations.
at the old helicopter
Correct.
landing?
So
It's still
two
going to
solar-
be at those two sites?
Two solar arrays, one at the hilltop parking area, one in the associate lot. Those are still being proposed right now.
Okay, so do you have the revised plans that we could see?
No, I do not. Have you seen the original plans for those two locations? Those are still as is.
Oh, it's still the same
Yeah.
plans? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Bill, other board questions? Kellyanne Kobayashi?
Yeah, I was wondering about the solar plans too. So you said that it's going to be a 2026 project. Would that mean like construction would start in 2026? So would we be able to, like, when will we be able to get that updated information about like what the changes are to the project?
Chairman, I think we're scheduled here about 6 months from now, so we can give you guys an update then.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, online? All right, Gary Waller.
Thank you. Can you tell me what the process is? Do you do open heart surgery there?
We do.
You do. Does the Department of Health decide or give you certifications to do certain procedures? Or do you decide on your own?
That's a great question. There are many layers of regulatory processes that go through. Department of Health is involved in many of those, if not all. I could follow up with you and get maybe some more details from someone who could speak to that more definitively.
Because I was in your hospital for a while last year and I had a very good experience. But I'm concerned that, because the bigger hospitals are on the other side of the island, and they're very politically connected, that we don't get many services that we should. So I wanted to make absolutely sure
Yeah.
that anything you request for that hospital gets approved by the state.
Well, I can speak to that in a generic sense. So the Healthcare Association of Hawaii works together collectively. We're serving one island, one community. I have yet to see or anyone speak of any one of these parties blocking essential services at any of the locations. So yeah, that's not an issue at all.
Okay, and we'll look forward to meeting Chase Alberg at next month's meeting. Mahalo, Jesse. All right, we're going to move on to resident community concerns. And just a note for board members, we're running behind schedule tonight. Resident and community concerns. Any questions, comments? Malia?
So on December 26th, I went to Castles with my daughter to the beach. And we were just cruising. We actually didn't go in the water. And then later that day, we found out about a notice about a permit level bacteria. It was an unpermitted sewage discharge. And so I decided to call the Clean Water branch of the Department of Health, the monitoring section. I spoke to the administrator there. And I was like, dude, what does it take to, and tell me if this is like old news to all of you. What does it take to get a public notice on that? He's like, well, we put up a sign. I'm like, cool. And of course, that's over at Kailua Bay, right? And so we started talking and I'm like, well, don't you department, and it turns out the city has to, well, the city does its monitoring. And when it goes over that level, it then tells Department of Health. Department of Health then issues its advisory. And then the city issues its public notice. Maybe it gets eventually put on that HNL app. And I don't know about the OH's advisory, but anyways, long story short, I was like, dude, can we just get it on our phones? And he was like, well, that's above my pay grade. Go figure it out. So I say that to all of you because I'm like, it's the one advisory. We just had a major spill that they say to us, don't go in there. Bacteria, bacteria, bacteria. It's a health advisory. And I can't think of anything else that is really that, stressful or that stress to us. Like you may get sick if you go in that doo-doo water. So he said, go figure it out. I'm here to say, can we figure it out? Like, what would it take my legislators out there to bring together Department of Health and the city, and maybe it's emergency management, because we all know we can get a text, right? We got one a couple of years ago statewide. What would that look like if that the advisory was more than the HNL app? And so that it would also add pressure, I think, if we all sort of started getting much more aware when these spills happen. And I mean, we, the collective we, and because I was over at Castles and like there were kids everywhere. And then when I talked to this guy, I realized the issuance was on the actual spill or excess, and this one it wasn't a spill, it was excess, was on the 24th. So there was like days that people were swimming in this stuff. So I just think there's got to be a bigger and broader way to communicate this than just these websites. Okay, thank you.
Hey, mahalo. Yeah, we passed a resolution also on a informational billboard basically at beach park entrances as well. And there is going to be some lag time because when an exceedance occurs, the test result is at least 1 day later. Absolutely. Totally agree. Totally agree. Thank you, Malia. Other resident concerns?
Can I just respond to that?
Lavani, yes,
Yes.
go ahead.
Thank you, because we have been advocating for years for this. There is not a streamlined system between the city and the state, and the public loses out. And one thing that they may not have shared with you is that there are only 2 water quality testers. There's only 2. So they travel between like half of the island. And so I think even at its inception, it might be being delayed. And you're right, for the wastewater, they rely on the wastewater treatment plant to do the testing and then to notify. And then they have to go through this back and forth system, and then someone goes out and puts the sign up. But to Bill's point, even if we had the lifeguards post signs at castles, the closest lifeguard tower is Kalama. So I like the idea of the alerts. I will, next week, Thursday on the 13th, we are having the researchers from Stanford University who are testing or who have tested the water quality from Kawainui Stream out to Castles. They will be presenting at my water quality meeting. And I would like to introduce this idea at that meeting of maybe having it go out as an emergency alert. Of course, they'll have to figure out geographically how to do that. But I really think that that's the fastest way, because as the chair, every time there is some type of spill or stormwater impact, I get 5 to 10 emails from people. I hear from people before I hear from the agency or from Instagram or from Facebook. So the system is definitely not working.
I mean, Department of Health, when they do this work, they say it clearly in their advisories, don't go in, it's potential bacteria exposure. So that should get out. They're gonna turn to that HNL app, HNL info app, because it does, I've now signed up. It does provide you an advisory, you get a text, but that's, the average person isn't signing up for it. And, right. So thank you.
Okay, mahalo. Other resident community concerns? All right, Jade Lau.
Oh, to add a comment to Malia and Lavani. Lavani, is there a way to suggest this to the new Ocean Safety Office? Because we certainly get texts and notifications when we see tigers in the water pretty quickly. I'm sorry, the chances of getting bit by a shark are way less than getting infected by polluted water that we know is polluted. So maybe we should present that back to Ocean Safety. If they can notify us that a shark's in the water, maybe they should be able to let us know that there's doo-doo in the water as well.
It's an excellent point. Very logical. All right, we'll move on to mayor and governor's reports. Mayor Rick Blangiardi's representative. Who do we have with us tonight? Jim Arkland or Shane?
It's me. You have me for tonight. Good evening, everyone. Shane Enright here in for Director Jim Ireland. Please check out that newsletter. If you all have it there, you should. There's a lot of good information in that. And it's a way that the mayor and his communications team really tries to get out important information to all of you. So if you could please check that out. I know we're kind of running out of time. I have 2 big items that I am set to get back to you on. One is Gary Weller's question about Kapa'a Quarry Road and ownership. It came back again as being privately owned. I'm just going to read this verbatim. Kapa'a Quarry Road from Kalaniane Ole Highway to the Kapa'a Transfer Station is privately owned. The city and HC&D, which is Honolulu Construction and Draying Company, have an easement for road and utilities over and across this parcel. Quarry Road from Kapa'a Quarry Road to Mokapu Saddle Road is an easement over, and this is where it gets a little interesting, across private, state, and city properties for road and utility purposes in favor of the city and HC&D. So, and then specifically, it says DTS defers to DDC Land Division to determine roadway ownership. So Gary, if that is not sufficient, please let me know and we will continue to try to get this all to make sense and be clear. But while I have you, the second issue was, of course, the roundabout by Kalapawai. The issue back in December was Ku'ukama and the traffic. Well, shortly after that, they did open it up, but now I believe traffic is going through Kailua Beach Park out as part of section phase 8 of this project, which is expected to be completed in mid-March. There is nothing noted here about phase 9, etc. So I'm sorry, I don't have what then comes after that, but phase 8, we are all in now for that section. I also am the spokesperson for Honolulu Ocean Safety. So I hear what you're saying, and I'll bring that back to our new director, Kurt Lager. And if there's any other questions, please let me know.
Okay, questions for Shane Enright, Donna Wong.
Yes, in the rainstorm, I was going to Kauhau and I drove down Kailua Road and you couldn't see the road because the water was so high. But I swore all the cars were going into potholes. So what is the quality of the stretch from where the shopping center is until you make the turn into Lanikai?
Shopping center with Island Snow. Are you referring to that shopping center? Which shopping center?
Shopping center.
Yes.
Okay. I don't know. I'll have to get back and with you on that
Okay.
one.
Thank you.
Levani Lipton.
Hi, Shane. This is more of a comment, which I hope you pass on to DTS, just being a local paddler here. Really, really hope that phase 8 will be done by the end of March, like you say, because paddling season is right around the corner. You have between 4 to 5 canoe clubs who are going to start having paddling practice with several hundred members, and the parking lot is closed. And so my fear is that folks are going to be flowing into the residential neighborhoods to look for parking because they don't want to miss practice. So it's really critical that this gets wrapped up on time or it's going to be a nightmare for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Levani.
Kellyanne Kobayashi.
Thank you for being here. For joining our meeting. I'd like to ask questions about recent news that's happening nationally and how it's affecting our county. And if you folks could look into, recent decisions by the White House and how such things like critical welfare programs or, people's jobs and how our county is being affected by some of these decisions. And if you have an answer, you can share it or, get back to us about that.
Yes, I appreciate the question. I think we're all following the national news closely. Nothing directly has come up to me regarding this. I will go back and ask though if we've seen any implications already here. But I don't have a definitive answer for you. So I'd rather just wait and try to get back to you with some answers next month.
Okay. Evan Weber.
Yeah, Shane, I just want to extend a mahalo to the county, particularly the Department of Transportation Services and Department of Parks and Recreation for being responsive to community feedback around the Phase 8 traffic flow. Now that the adjustments have been made, things are going quite well, and I think some normalcy to people's lives that have in the impacted area have been restored. Levani pointed out that we do need things to continue on schedule for the upcoming paddling season. However, I also wanted to point out that the couple of weeks of life-disturbing events were entirely unavoidable because We, in fact, reached out to you all with these concerns a month out and made the request that preemptively you shut off the parking from 10 to 4 in the impacted areas, and instead a wait and see approach was chosen. And so with that in mind, we do have a broader long-term traffic management plan, and there have been recommendations from the exact approach that is being taken right now, which is to shut down traffic from 10 to 4 to be implemented permanently. A resolution was passed by the Kailua Neighborhood Board for that. It is working right now, and yet still, despite the community telling the city what works and us seeing what works in real time after it not working, we still don't have an implementation of that long-term plan. So the question and the request is, during the next couple of weeks, you have 6 weeks, 5 or 6 weeks, hopefully, to Levani's point, where these exact traffic restrictions, almost to a T, that the community has requested are actually in place right now. Can DTS or other departments of the city come and actually study what is happening, see if it is working to improve traffic flow, see if there are any community issues or concerns, and if so, move forward with implementing the community's requests that have been well documented and obviously requested at multiple points?
Okay. There's a lot there. So I'm not sure if that's written down anywhere in an email. If not, if that could be emailed to Chair Hicks, and then we can get that to the appropriate people.
Sure.
Because I don't want to miss anything there.
Yeah, simply come and look and see that the 10 to 4 parking restrictions are working. And if you think they're not, you can go ahead and suggest something else.
And exactly where are these 10 to 4?
In the Kailua loop.
Okay.
And if DTS were to implement construction work in Lanikai in support of the Lanikai Transportation Management Plan, during these shutdown periods right now, wouldn't be a bad time for, striping parking stalls and other things that DTS is considering doing. Other questions for Shane Enright? Online? Residents? Okay, mahalo, Shane.
Thank you, everyone.
Governor Josh Green's representative. I think Aaron Connor is not available. Is there a representative for Josh Green tonight? Okay, we'll move on to elected official reports. Representative Lisa Martin.
Aloha, everybody. I was listening online, but I was driving by and I thought I might as well just come, and I wanted to see the presentation as well. So it's a crazy time in the Capitol. Tuesday, my committee, Human Services and Homelessness, will have our last hearing before a crossover. So we have been hearing a lot of bills about really fantastic needed services that I don't know if we're going to be able to fund. The situation with the federal government is really, really uncertain. And it's hitting Hawaii reasons. One, because every single program and grant that is directed towards Native Hawaiians is considered DPI and expendable. I see this in my nonprofit with grants that may now disappear, as well as, through our work at the Capitol. In addition to that, we have very generous state programs. Over half of our children's healthcare comes through Medicaid. and we have very extensive benefits. But about 60% of that is paid for by the federal government. And so if we lose a lot of that funding, a lot of the new things that we want to do to move forward, a lot of things around homelessness, which I know is really important to this community and to me, we may not be able to fund those. So it's kind of a tough time right now. Other issues that are top of mind for this community are invasive pests. I do have a CRP bill that I'd love to have your support for UH to basically not give up on Oahu, but help us with training for tree trimmers, arborists, any landowners, as well as supplies, so that we can keep our palm trees alive until a biocontrol is found. And the bill also funds the search for a biocontrol. I appreciate your work on the landfill. I'm in a really tough situation there, right? I don't want our landfill over in Aquifer, but if I don't support, if I support that bill, does that mean it ends up in Kailua? It's very much of a NIMBY situation, but we have made so much progress in trying to restore our Apupua'a, Maupitimakai. We have so many exciting new unfulfilled, land transfers, so much work that has been done and is about to be done. So having a landfill in the middle of it would be really unfortunate. So I do hope that you folks will continue to weigh in at the Capitol about that, especially about us having already paid our dues, because that is the reason for not having it on the west side, because they have paid their dues. Thank you.
Mahalo. Questions for Representative Morton? Kellyanne Kobayashi.
I appreciate you providing information about how some of the recent federal decisions have been affecting our state. I was just wondering if maybe, I don't know if it's you, I was actually going to ask the governor's representative, but I'm wondering if we could maybe get some numbers, if it'd be good for the public to know, this many people's healthcare is at risk, or, this much funding is potentially not going to come to our state, or these programs might be at risk. Because I think a lot of people feel like stuff that happens in DC or far away don't actually affect them. But, there are people that live in Kailua that could lose their job tomorrow. And the cost of living, especially for Kailua, is very high. The, homelessness issue and the increasing costs to live here, all those things are not necessarily going to get better by some of these programs, especially if people no longer can afford to live here, or they don't have healthcare anymore. Those are things that I think a lot of people could use info on. So I was just wondering if you or someone from the state could help us learn more about some things that might actually be impacting us here at home in Kailua.
Yes, it's a moving target. The answer is no one really knows, but I do have some numbers on how many federal jobs there are here. So those are local residents whose job is paid for by the federal government. And some of the programs that might be at risk. We don't know what will actually happen, but I can email what I do know to the chair and he can share it.
All right. Mahalo. Any other questions? Thank you, Lisa. Representative Scott Matayoshi.
Aloha, I'm Shauna Ukila here for Rep. Matayoshi. I will give him the message that you folks want him here to person. So thank you, Rep. Martin, for sharing some of that information. We do have a lot of bills that are coming down the pipe. They're telling us to watch our funding, so good news. So first of all, I want to make sure that you all signed up for the email newsletters that'll tell you exactly what you need to know. We also have some calendars if you want anyone. So relevant important bills. You folks were talking about landfill bills. There's one coming up on February 10th, SB 438. That's going to be heard in room 229 by HHS and Water. There's also another one, HB 878, not a very popular bill. So that one hasn't been heard yet by the Committee on Judiciary. We also have an illegal fireworks bill, HB 806, being heard this Friday at 2 p.m. That will create a sting operation. Funding for law enforcement to do more of that at the docks, and we're proposing some penalty. We're also working on a tobacco ban for youth prevention, HB 756. It's not scheduled for second hearing, but we already passed it. We also have condo bills, and that's the sterilization bill that's still on the table. And the feral chicken bill 5, everyone is just in that. Hearings have started last week. This week will be Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and be sure to submit your testimony 24 hours a week. Some events that are coming up. Part of the 13th Annual Festival of Pacific Arts and Exhibition is now at Neighbor Community College. That is wood carving inspired by college and voyage. Second one is the Pu'alau Night Market, February 14th at Vineyard Falls. The Manikana o Pu'alau Cultural Scavenger Hunt, February 22nd at Vineyard Falls, sponsored by WCC and Pu'alau Focus City. And then another Kailua Night Market, March 15th, that's a Saturday, 4 to 9 p.m. It is free, and anyone wishing to park at King Intermediate School have a trolley ride for $8. Some community updates. The Department of Transportation has assured Rep. Matayoshi that they will cut the tall grass by Wilson soon. Creates a dangerous situation and has demanded action. Feel free to contact representative via email or visit the office. We have also been working with the city and county to address all your recent community concerns, like homeless, encampments, speeding related concerns. So if you have any questions for representation, please let me know. I'll be able to.
Mahalo. Any questions? Okay, thank you for joining us tonight. Senator Chris Lee. Councilmember Esther Kiaina is joining us remotely. Esther.
Aloha, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. A couple of items. First off, with regard to the affordable rental housing project on 734 and 735 Kihapai Place, there will be a hearing next week on Tuesday before the Housing Committee at 1 p.m. And Gloria is going to put the link for the agenda in the chat box. This is more FYI. I don't think, people don't have to go and testify unless you're against it. But this is a city project that I support. It is going to authorize the city to enter into both a development contract as well as a ground lease between the city and the developer. Second, you mentioned Kalaheo High School. As you know, your team has been working closely with our state lawmakers to make sure that we upgraded Kalaheo High School facilities. And because it requires the city's Department of Emergency Management, they actually did an assessment and they're going to be focusing on the cafeteria, not the gymnasium. Both Senator Kihokalole as well as Representative Lee are working on the funding. It is going to range likely between 4.2 million to 12 million, and that would be ranging for category 1 storms to up to Category 3 storms. The recommendation is not to go to Category 4 because it would be cost prohibitive. Third, I heard Malia and many of the community over the last couple of weeks, including Christmas time, relating to the bacterial exceedance levels at Kailua wastewater treatment plant. I know that you are all aware of the UV system that is supposed to be completed by the ending of the year. I have been very concerned about the failure of the city to work on short-term mitigation. So I do have some news, and I'm sorry that it continues to happen. But the Department of Environmental Services has recently acquired parasitic acid, which is an additive chemical that will be used in the short run to address the exceedance levels. They will be dispersing the chemical starting February 24th, 2025 until the UV system is in place. And the goal, of course, is to reduce the exceedance levels. This chemical is clear and colorless liquid and has been used for wastewater disinfection for nearly 2 decades. The city has completed extensive bench scale testing for disinfection at the treatment plant and found it to be very effective and has no adverse effects on the wastewater parameters or aquatic life. Fourth, I am working with, of course, yourself, Chair, as well as the other neighborhood board members in Waimanalo and Kaneohe, as well as Donna Wong of the landfill TIG, to have a site visit with the director of the environmental services of the sites that, as far as I'm concerned, is still vulnerable to being considered because of the fact that Waihiwa is not likely going to be moving forward. And it includes Waimanalo, of course. So there are 5 sites, which I mentioned previously: North Quarry, South Quarry, Castle Junction, Hawaii Youth Correctional Facility, and near Waimanalo Country Farms. So I will be doing a site visit with the pertinent chairs and some members of the PIG, as well as the Environmental Services Director. For myself, I am working with my staff and Office of Council Services and E&V to get a thorough historical record of all landfills on the island, so I can know exactly what's going on and be better prepared. I wanted to thank Representative Lee for his bill to extend the buffer to 1 mile. I wish him luck because he's going against a lot of other bills that are trying to decrease that, which I adamantly oppose. And lastly, thank you, Levani, for your leadership in water quality issues. As I mentioned to you, I am working with the Department of Facility Maintenance to have a town hall on Kailua stormwater management issues. I thought it was going to be at the ending of February, but it's going to have to move to March. And that is the end of my presentation, Chair.
Mahalo, Esther. Questions for Esther Kiana? Donna Wong.
Can you give us an update on the land transfer from the city to DHHL, McCullough Hill Hillside?
Thank you, Donna. So I do know that the city needed the state to indemnify the city for any contractor to go on to do their due diligence. And I understand it was a complicated process, and that has been completed. The city's Department of Land Management has to enter into a right of entry, and that I have not been told that that has been completed. And until that is done, the next step would be for due diligence by RM Towel to go and do an assessment on the property on whether or not it is feasible to move forward. And clearly, the neighborhood board has, I passed a resolution articulating their concerns as well as what you would like to see. And I believe that that will be undertaken, and you have my commitment that it will be, because I was the one pushing for this to happen. And so I want to make sure that not just the Kailua Neighborhood Board, but the community of Kalaheo and everyone in Kailua has a transparent process all the way through, and that their concerns are taken into account.
Thank you.
Other questions? Levani Lipton.
Hi, Esther. Just a clarifying question. The parasitic acid that's going to be used, is that going to be used in the facility? I just want to ask straight up. It's not going to be put in the ocean. It's going to be used in the
Yes.
facility to treat the
Yes.
wastewater?
Yes, and I'll double check, but the answer is yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Esther, what time zone are you in?
2 hours away.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm still 5 hours away. Okay. Thank you for joining us very late. David Leah, one more question.
Hi, Esther. I am curious about the policy of city and county donating land to DHHL to build houses. It seems DHHL has its own resources, and by the city donating land, it seems to require the taxpayers to have to pay the city and county's bills and now the DHHL bills, but I just don't understand why the city is taking on the kuleana to provide DHHL with land that has tremendous value. And as our property taxes continue to increase.
Thank you for the question, David. Well, first off, let me just say that if you look at the evolution of land tenure in Hawaii, the 1.8 million acres of land that was taken by the federal government at the time of annexation, all state, federal, and county lands were taken from that corpus. And only 200,000 acres of that 1.8 million acres was given to Hawaiian homelands. So the history of the Hawaiian homelands, first of all, is a tragic one. And it has, with the tens of thousands of people on the wait list, it's been like that because of the mismanagement by the state and federal governments. So at the we seen why both the state and city can kokua the federal government, who also should do more in effectuating the Hawaiian Homes Commission Act. So that's the first thing. Second,
Esther,
I'll be
I
honest with you with-
appreciate Esther, I appreciate both the question and the answer, which we've gone through when this was introduced. But in the interest of time, because we have two presentations.
Sure. Why don't I meet with him and talk to him separately? Thank you.
Okay, mahalo. Senator Jarrett Keahokalole. Representative Mike Lee.
Good evening, Chair. Good evening, Board. Thank you for having me. Just wanted to start off by welcoming the brand new board members. You guys are the true heroes of this community. But, Esther and Lisa stole a lot of my thunder, but I do want to follow up on some of the things they talked about. Representative Martin and I were at a briefing. These are rough numbers given to us to Kellyanne's question. When the initial order for the federal programs was given, roughly 2,600 programs were identified here locally. And we have roughly 25,000 federal civilian workers currently working here in the state. They are unpredictable and chaotic times, and it's difficult for the state legislature right now. We've got to give a rough draft of our House budget by mid-March. What could happen with a freeze of the federal government around the same time could have major ramifications. So it is a unpredictable time, and it is making our jobs very difficult. But I want to thank Representative Martin for the work she's doing on the Keiki Caucus, which I'm a part of. There's a lot of good bills that are being passed. I'll talk a little bit about the landfill later, but I did want to also mention that it's been really nice to get constituents emailing us and calling us here at our office. We've actually had over 120 inquiries from, Kailua and Kaneohe, and we've generally tried to get back within 24 hours for the most part. And I also want to thank Council Member Kia Aina for helping us. A lot of these things are city and county issues. But I just wanted to highlight a few of the things that our office has been working on, specifically related to Kailua. And I want to thank what we call, we have two constituent bills or neighborhood board bills. One of them came from constituents and they're related to leaf blowers and lawnmowers and weed eaters and the decibel levels that they cause and create. And we're trying a different approach. Rather than going after gas powered ones, we're going after decibel levels. The nice thing is that they have moved through two committees and are now moving to their third committee. So we're hopeful for that one. I do want to be clear, like Council Member Kiana was saying, that Bill 878, which extends the buffer zone to 1 mile, it has already passed one committee, but it limped out of it. It only passed by one vote. I don't expect it to pass. But I have been assuring everybody, I have been talking to people at the legislature, and to echo what Representative Martin said, in a building that talks about equity and equality all the time, Kailua has done its part. The windward side has done its part when it comes to landfill. We pay for a rail that will never come here in our lifetime. We do our part. We have taken the burden of some unnecessary tourism for the state's economy, and we do our part. And we are just asking, at least at the legislature, I'm asking some of my colleagues to really try to help us. It's not about pointing fingers, like Evan said, whack-a-mole, but really we're trying to work together to come up with a better solution. But I've tried to explain to the rest of the body that Kailua, and especially District 50, has more than done its part on the windward side. I know we're short on time. I sent out a community newsletter. I'll send it out to the board. You guys can send it out if people want to sign up. But that landfill bill, I don't expect to really pass another committee. So what I would say to the board and to Kailua is there is a time coming, and it is coming soon. I've told people that if you think Wahiwa made a lot of noise, the entire windward side is standing united. And we will be needing your testimony, and we will be needing your voices. I'll open up to questions because I know we're short on time.
Thank you, Mike. Questions for Representative Mike Lee? You're doing a terrific job on the landfill. Thank you so much, Mike.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you, Chair. And on the good news, it was a great opening day. We had about 30 constituents drop by. We've had Castle High School, Monowili Elementary come by. We had some students from Kailua High School and Kalaheo High School come by as a part of the Secondary Schools Conference. We really love engaging with this community. And remember that this is your legislative office. We have Kailua High School art all over our office right now. So please come support the kids and take some pictures with it. Thanks, Bill.
Okay, mahalo. Nicole Gray representing Representative Takuda.
Good evening. Thanks for having me and letting me give this report. Since I hear obviously federal freeze is top of mind, I just want to point everyone to our website to see what Rep. Takuda has been saying about this. She's been fairly strong in her dissent on these EOs put out by the president, especially the funding freeze. And our office is fielding calls, and the best way to be heard is to go to our website, write in, particularly if something is affecting you directly. We are gathering these stories, and Rep. Takuda is taking these to her colleagues. It's always good to put these stories in front of the legislation. Further on in our office, we have a new location. I will put that in the chat. It's just a little bit down the road. And then she has been selected as the ranking member of the House Agricultural Committee's subcommittee on conservation, research, and biotechnology. In this role, she will be the lead Democrat for resource conservation, and agriculture research as Congress works towards enacting a full farm bill. For legislation from the 118th Congress, President Biden, before he left, signed 2 of Rep. Tokuda's bills into law. The first was H.R. 8219, the Lahaina National Heritage Area Study, and H.R. 8909 to name the Captain Cook Post Office on Hawaii Island after First Lieutenant John Ku'ule Kauahaihao, who was killed in action in Vietnam. The Continued Rapid Ohia Death Response Act of 2025 was passed in the House and is now Senate. Let's see here. What other updates do I have? We have 2 upcoming town halls. One will be in Wahiawa on Thursday, February 20th from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. at Wahiawa Elementary School. You can go to our website, tokuda.house.gov, for more information. The other one will be on the Big Island. Then we have our military academy nominations that were announced in late January. The list of 31 students from across the 2nd Congressional District can be found on the website. And our art competition, the Congressional Art Competition, will be opening up soon. So if you know any young artists, have them come to our website to see how to enter. And then, as always, please, if you're having any issues with a federal agency, contact us. We will do our best to assist you. And I can take any questions for our team.
Thank you very much, Nicole. I'm going to suspend questions because we have 2 presentations in very limited time. But we just recognize that it's a very disruptive time period, and we appreciate the updates that you provide.
Okay.
Reports from members who attended other meetings. Okay, thank you very much. Department of Land and Natural Resources Chair Dawn Chang has very patiently stuck with us all night. She has a presentation on the prospective sale of Adventist Health Castle's Hawaii Loa campus property to the Department of Land and Natural Resources. Dawn.
Aloha. Chair Hicks and members of the Kailua Neighborhood Board. My name is Dawn Chang. I am the Director of the Department of Land and Natural Resources. I also want to introduce 2 of my administrators. I have Megan Statz. She is the Administrator of the Division of Boating and Ocean Recreation. And I have Mary Gozo, who is the Oahu Branch Manager of the Division of Forestry and Wildlife. These are 2 of the divisions that we are proposing to have use the Hawaii Loa campus. Before I start, and I'm going to try to keep my presentation brief because I did pass out. I'm hoping, Chair Hicks, you were able to pass out my list. But I wanted to briefly just go over, there's many questions about the federal freeze. So I wanted to I'll take 1 minute to do that. So last week when the state of Hawaii received OMB's memo, immediately that went out to all of the state agencies. The state agencies, in coordination with the Attorney General's office, provided input as to any of our programs. Many of us receive federal funds, including in particular our DOFA and our Division of Aquatic Resources. What impacts does this OMB memo have? And so what we were able to find out is that many of our state agencies, their access to the portals to receive federal funds was literally frozen. They could not get access. So as a result of that, the Attorney General, in coordination with 22 other Attorney Generals, was able to file a motion in district in Rhode Island. And they actually used an example from the state of Hawaii. Our Climate Commission was not able to get it into our portal. And so that as well as several other states formed the basis for the temporary restraining order. So we will continue to monitor I'm sure there will be other results and updates that you'll get, but I wanted to provide that as that seemed to be a really important issue here. So let me go back to Wailoa. So in 2023, the legislature appropriated funds to acquire Wailoa campus to be used for public purposes. And Gary, you were right. Originally, it was designed to be for Department of Health. They need to relocate out of their Kinauhale building in downtown. However, upon further discussions with Castle Foundation, and your concerns were also concerns by Castle, that they did not want just the state of Hawaii just to use it as office space. So some of the programs that Department of Health was proposing to use were considered just administration. So we went back and the negotiating team decided to pursue DLNR's proposed uses. And again, I think you've received them. And as a result, at this point in time, DLNR is going to be the primary occupant, assuming that we do acquire the property. So we are in the process of doing due diligence. The property is approximately 132 acres. It lies totally within the conservation district. So there's a conservation district use permit that even DLNR, our uses have to comply with that. So we are proposing, we will probably have to get our own conservation district use permit, complete the chapter 343 review on that. We have, so the proposed uses that I did circulate to Chair Hicks dated January 9, 2025. Those proposed uses have been reviewed by Castle Foundation. Terry brought those to the board, and based upon the uses that we identified, the Castle board did approve them. So we are proposing to have we have 10 divisions at DLNR. At this point in time, 7 of those divisions, the Division of Forestry and Wildlife, the Division of Boating and Ocean Recreation, our Division of Conservation and Resource Enforcement, our DOCARE, our enforcement arm, they're planning to do a training academy there for their recruits. DOFAL will continue to use that as a conservation camp. And the image and the vision that we have is to partner up with a lot of our partners already in Kailua and Kaneohe. We have a lot of Makatu Makai, Manawili, Kauai Nui. In Kaneohe, we have the He'i and Near. So we're trying to create a campus that utilizes this co-management concept, Makatu Makai. So besides DOFA, DOBAR is also looking at potentially opening up a vessel registration and satellite office there, also having a help desk. So we're hoping to have an information center located at the Wailoa campus. Our State Historic Preservation Division also proposes to use some of the space for training, cultural training, also potentially having meetings there, as well as our Division of State Parks. They're proposing to work in collaborations with the community on managing the recreational facilities. We would like to open up, again, with DOFA and state parks, perhaps a walking trail for the community through the campus. We are also looking at, the county approached us about having an emergency services facility there where they could house 2 ambulances. So we are looking at housing that probably right in the front of as you enter. I think that will probably raise a lot of communities' level of comfort and confidence to have an emergency services center there. So that's the proposed uses that we're looking at. Where we currently, we are doing our due diligence. So we need to do an appraisal, we need to do a site assessment. And then again, compliance with chapter 343, our conservation district use. We are also proposing, that's our long-term uses, and we'll enter into, so once we acquire and we complete due diligence. We're hoping to have some temporary short-term uses in the facility, like including DOCARE, having their training, having their recruits coming there, using them for a training facility. as well as having physical presence on the site. It is a very large site. Castle expends a tremendous amount of resources for security. So we're hoping to have presence there. DOFA may also use that site temporarily during this due diligence period to have various programs. But our intention is for it to be primarily used by programs, and we may have administrative support services that are associated with those programs. But it is not our intention to move our Kalani Moku building over to the Hawaii Loa campus, but really to have it be program-based, one that we can have a center in Kailua, in Kaneohe Kailua, and then continue to maintain our primary administration and administration in downtown. We did a presentation a similar presentation to the Kaneohe Neighborhood Board. I appreciate Terry George also was there, provided supportive comments to the board. We hope to go before the land board within the next 2 months to seek an approval to provide them an informational briefing. But we wanted to make sure we went to this community first before we went to the land board. We wanted to make sure that we were respectful to all of you, and we sort of did a temperature check. Do you think that DLNR is a good entity to be using this area? We are not proposing to use it as a landfill by all means, but we really do see it as a great campus for DLNR, given what our mission is to preserve and protect natural and cultural resources, that this location is ideal for what we're proposing to do, what our existing programs, but more importantly, creating a space for communities to gather. We have a huge cafeteria that we can turn into, whether it's a place for just meetings or else open markets. But again, we will proceed with due diligence, continue to engage with the communities on long-term plans. But we wanted to get a temperature check from this neighborhood board. Do you feel that we're moving in the right direction? Do you feel that this would be consistent with the vision of the Windward Side Kailua Neighborhood Board? So I know that your time is brief. It's been a long night, but that's the essence of my presentation, and I'm available if you've got any questions. Thank you very much. Appreciate this.
Mahalo, Don, and for everyone's awareness.
And I have a very great staff. Kellyanne is a proud member of our Division of Aquatic Resources, who has been, she's done some great work on Papahanaumokuake. Yes. Thank you, Kellyanne. Yes, thank you, sir.
The entire document for tonight's presentation is on our meeting materials site for all to view. We have hardly much time and one more presentation, but Gary Weller.
That was a very good speech. I am very pleased at what you have said. One of the things that might be nice to have there, we have a lot of nonprofits on this side of the island that is involved in the environment, agriculture, and et cetera. Kailua really doesn't have a community meeting place. I mean, this place is available for some events, but it's kind of busy. There's a lot of exercise programs and et cetera. And I know that school has a theater kind of involvement and for lectures and things like that. You might want to incorporate that into your plans and maybe make it available for different nonprofits and community to use. That would enhance your efforts and your direction that you want to go. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Gary. But that is one of our, I think we see the campus as providing that environment to do that. Our land board meets twice a month. Our Commission on Water Resource Management meets once a month. We have burial councils, we have climate commission. So it would be nice to have a place where the community, they don't have to go to Honolulu, they can come out here, but it's also a place where like-minded communities can come together. I mean, DOFA is looking at creating a conservation camp where we can bring people from around, potentially around the world, to learn about Hawaii. They're thinking about bringing their their endangered snails. So many of a lot of what we're doing already in the community to bring it here. But DLNR we're doing a concerted effort to make DLNR a career path, especially for our young people. So trying to customize our hiring procedures so that we give credit for item-based experience. You don't have to always have a BA or an MA. You can have item-based experience, and that we should give you credit for that for much of the work that we do. Thank you very much.
Mahalo. Are there any questions?
Can I take your applause as meaning you support what we're doing?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Kellyanne?
I was just wondering what the timeline would be for like this process, and also what like level of public access there would be like in the end, because like attending like you said, board meetings, it's hard to go to Kalani Moku, I think, for a lot of the public. So right now it's not really, I don't know, there's like people don't really go to HPU right now. So
Yeah, currently, so we're still in our due diligence. We're going to be conducting a site visit soon with Adventus on what can be some proposed use during the interim period of time. So we do have a consultant on board that's going to do the environmental documents and helping us with some of the physical assessment. We don't have a particular time period. I am hoping that we can have, well, I'm trying to be ambitious because I got a really short time here in this administration. So I'm hoping that we can move this along, I'm going to say broadly, anywhere from 2 to 4 years, but we'd like to temporarily be able to use this. Part of our challenge is we want to make sure that we're using it consistent with the existing conservation district use permit. And we're not expanding, because that would trigger a whole another regulatory process where I know that Donna Wong will make sure that we're making. So we are trying to stay within the confines of the existing authorization, but that's our long-term plans, Kellyanne, probably anywhere between 2 to 4 years. Don't quote me on it, but that's our goal, is to try to get to that.
Okay. Well, thank you so very much for the late evening presentation. Matthew Fujioka has a presentation, Mid-Pacific Short Game Practice Facility. My apologies for the lateness. Could we get a 2-minute version?
Sure.
This has already been presented to PZ&E.
Sure, I'll go through it quickly. The project is to do a new short game facility to expand the existing one. The project is within the shoreline management area, so we'll have to obtain a SMA permit. And as part of that process, we will be completing an environmental assessment. So right now we're in the draft EA phase. Just a quick description of the project. So it is located to the north of the clubhouse. So if you're coming in from the driveway on the Lanikai side, it's to the right of the clubhouse. I guess for another point of reference, the hill between Kailua Beach Park and Lanikai is on the south slope of it at the base. The existing condition at the site, there is an existing practice area there. It is about 3,000 square feet. There's one green for putting. It's about 730 square feet. There's one sand bunker, grass. There's no cart path there, and there's also no lighting. One more thing to mention about the existing condition, in the past, there was an old cart barn there and some maintenance area. So for the most part, where the new facility is going, it's been previously disturbed and used. The new site is proposed to be expanded to approximately 30,000 square feet. One chipping green, that's about 7,000 square feet. A new putting green, about 2,000 square feet, 2 sand bunkers. The area to be graded is about 1.5 acres. We'll have a new drainage system, irrigation system, and we'll continue to not have any lighting. So it'll be just for the day. Approximate cost is 1.2 million. Construction time is 3 to 4 months, and then following that would be about 3 months to establish the grass.
All right. Well, Matthew fit it into 2 minutes, and I apologize for,
No problem. I think I got most of it in there.
thank you so very, very much. Next item is approval of minutes. Any corrections or changes to the minutes for the December meeting? Hearing none, minutes are approved. Committee reports, any chair wish to expand upon the published committee reports? Hearing none, committee reports stand as published. Any committee membership motions? I encourage our 2 new members to sample our committees and consider joining. Chair's report, committee agendas for March are due Sunday, February 23rd. This meeting is adjourned at 10:02 Hawaiian time, 3:02 Eastern time.